So what I did was I created this little picture that's kind of important as far as me remembering things, because it's my hook. And that's the whole thing, I think, with remembering, is you got to have a hook to hang the idea on. So I said, well, you can see or not see some things, or hear things, or say things. This is a magic wand. There's some little magic tricks that help you remember things. The 3 R's, if you imagine this emblazoned on the t-shirt, it doesn't say guess, or doesn't say Tommy Hilfiger, it says R3. It means rhyme, rhymes, rules, and repetition. There's 3 other little memory devices. Shampoo is a device that I use in poetry to teach the figures of speech. Simile, hyperbole, alliteration, metaphor, personification, onomatopoeia. Or any acronym is a good way to remember things. An idea that is your idea, that fits with your license plate, or the names that you have trouble remembering, or whatever the little quirky things are in your life, sometimes your own idea that fits for you works. How I remember people's names is totally different than how my wife remembers people's names. I do works for me, what she does works for her. None of this works unless it is enclosed in the exclamation mark. If it's not important, you're not going to remember. And as it becomes important, it's more likely to be memorable. Ladies and gentlemen, hobos and tramps, cross-eyed mosquitoes and bow-legged ants, I come before you to stand behind you to tell you a story I know nothing about. Early one morning, in the middle of the night, 2 dead boys got up to fight. Back to back, they faced each other, drew their swords and shot each other. A deaf policeman heard the noise and came to kill the 2 dead boys. Now if you don't believe my fable, I'll tell you another called The 4 Corners on a Round Table. In 1 minute or less, share the poem with as many people as possible. And you figure out some method of deciding who goes first. My method of deciding who goes first in class is always rock, paper, scissors, so I would say it's you. Hey, if you haven't switched yet, switch so the other person gets a chance. The kicker is, if they have to teach it to somebody else, then they've really got it. Now, they're not going to teach this poem to somebody else, but any of the things that you do throughout the course of the year, you can find an audience, the other class, some elementary school kids, mom and dad at home, some other audience that they have to teach whatever they've learned to. It just helps them get it. I certainly learned that as a teacher. You've got to teach social studies grade 8, Jock. I'm not a social studies teacher. Well, you are now. Boy, my learning curve is just like that. It's great. So. We teach the better part of 200 days to our kids. And I've taught for quite a while, and I keep bumping into kids in Red because I'm still there. Hey, remember you? I taught you 15 years ago. We spent 200-ish days together. I said this to a student. What do you remember about those 200 days? He said, kid says, I remember that time when you jumped on the rolling table and you kind of zoomed across the front of the classroom. I said, yeah, what else? Isn't that enough? We're going essays, poetry, short stories, thinking skills, all the cool stuff. No, sorry, that's it. I mean, most of them don't even remember who you are. Your name? Face is kind of familiar, you look older.